What's up, guys? I actually haven't made a tier list in quite a while. I know Dragapult releases in 2 days, so I'm just going to predict where he's going to be, but I really wanted to make a tier list before the year ends. So here we go. Also with a new microphone now. I hope you guys enjoy the new microphone. Let me know what you think about it. I still have a few videos on the old microphone recorded that I'm still posting, but after that, we're going to switch over, fully to this microphone and hopefully have some better audio on my videos. So first off, we start with the lane tier list. As always, lane tier list means how a Pokemon is played, either top or bot, top path or bot path, and then see how they perform through the entire match. Early, mid, late game. It's not just level 1 to level 5 how strong they are. It pretty much just tries to take the entire match into account and how will this Pokemon perform in certain scenarios through the entire match when picked in lane. So first we start with our boy Charizard, which I think is absolutely terrible in lane right now. He lost so much damage, and he used to be fine in lane because he did insane early game damage, but after losing the true damage that he had, I feel like he just does no damage early game anymore, so he can't really cheese. His last hitting is much more difficult because he does less damage to white Pokemon as well without his true damage, and it just feels very mediocre. I just don't like having Charizards in lane. In general, this Pokemon has just dropped off a tiny bit. Still a decent jungler, but I would not recommend playing it in lane right now. Then we have Crustle, also not too amazing, but yeah, Crustle is just Crustle. There's just something missing about this Pokemon. I don't want to put him in C tier. I think B is totally fair. He does work sometimes, but it's hard to make work. Venusaur, I think, is still just average, or like not average, is above average attacker you can play in lane as well. Has fine laning phase, has good auto take damage early game, has okay last hitting with boosted auto take and Razor Leaf, and just has good power spikes. Level 7, you become very strong. Level 13, and even if you play lane, level 13 is reachable pretty easily if you just farm a decent amount, right? Lucario still easily A2 to me, just power punch and close combat is great. Good E-speed players are also still going to make it work. It's obviously pretty difficult to play right now, extreme speed, but power punch and close combat is still a very strong combination. Garchomp, I'm going to put in B+. I think Garchomp is decent, but he's such a coin flip Pokemon. Like, you have to coin flip early game, hope the enemies fight you, try to get some rapid fire stuff you done, maybe get 1 or 2 KOs, and if you fail with that, it becomes very difficult of a game. And yeah, I think it's just a coin flip Pokemon. He can be up here, he can be down here, depending on how your lane goes. But I think he's totally fine in B+. Again, B+ doesn't mean these Pokemon are terrible, right? Now, Gardevoir might be a surprise, but Gardevoir actually just feels good right now. I don't know what it is. Gardevoir feels decent. As soon as you get to level 5, you do quite a lot of damage. And yeah, the Psychic also just feels amazing right now. I do like Gardevoir. Gardevoir's Unite move got a huge buff as well, like a long time ago, with the just lower cooldown. And it just feels just good. Of course, I hate having a Rides in my lane as well, but also, again, they buffed the laning phase, right? They buffed confusion damage early game, which actually allows you to get last hits a lot more now. Not so just clear, NDDs on your own much faster, so it's pretty decent. Talonflame, I just don't think Talonflame is... I mean, he works as a jungler. In lane, it's just nothing too amazing. If this Pokemon is behind in experience, he doesn't really do much either, so not a fan. Zaora, also not a fan. It's just the speedsters down here. Can't really recommend Zaora too much. Of course, you can cheese as well, similar to like Gibble. Play Rapid Fire Scarf Zaora. Jump into your opponents on level 3, hope you get KOs and try to snowball the game from it. It's not always going to work, but it can be quite good. It's still very difficult in late game though. So yeah. Let's just get the speedsters done maybe. So Absol, I would put Absol up here because I think I'm good at Absol, but for the average player, it's nothing too amazing. I would still rather have Absol than these two Pokemon, in lane for sure. And I'm very confident I can carry games on Absol, but in general, I think it's B+. Absol doesn't seem too great right now. Gengar as well. I used to put Gengar personally up here somewhere, but has lost a lot of range, a good amount of damage, and just it's not that easy to play in the current meta, I feel like as well. A lot of point and click things that can, ruin Gengar's day. Like Urshifu Unite, Vultackle, Sableye, there's so much point and click. Slowbro is very popular. That's very hard for Gengar to actually, get stuff done and jump into opponents. Same for the other speedsters. They just die so fast to just point and click things, which again are very popular right now that it's quite difficult. Greninja, a classic Pokemon people like to play in lane. Absolutely dreadful. It can work. Like, I'm never saying it can't work, right? If you're a good enough player, you can make anything work. But in general, you should not play it in lane. Straight up. Cinderace, same, even worse than Greninja, because Greninja at least has some... I mean, Rapid Fire Scarf makes them better in lane because they can actually maybe kill something when people are trying to stack, but they just have no last hitting. Bubble at least can last it a bit. Cinderace literally can't last hit anything. So unless you play premates with like a Blissey in lane, it's quite bad. Eldegoss, easily A+ tier to me. This Pokemon is super, super good right now. I'm not sure if it's worthy of an S tier, but A+ is very deserving for this Pokemon. Eldegoss is super, super strong. Cramorant, I think, is a solid A or B+ tier. I'm gonna put him to B+ in lane. It does work, it's pretty decent. Sometimes it feels good, sometimes it feels bad. Surf Hurricane is alright. Air/Dive is pretty good, but I would say it's still better as a jungler if you want to play Air/Dive than a lane. But Surf Hurricane, it needs a bit more. Let's just say Surf Hurricane needs a bit more for the lane build, and I'd rather have Cramorant honestly as a jungler than as a lane Pokemon. Blastoise, I think, is pretty solid. Just in general, just a solid Pokemon, very good defender. You can play almost any build, Surf, Hydro Pump, Rapid Spin, with Hydro Pump now with the new Rapid Fire Scarf build, or Rapid Spin and Water Spout. Play all of those builds, and I think he's just gets good value done. His Unite is still super, super strong, and Blastoise, I think, is just a good defender. Mr. Mime, still S tier with a Power Swap build. Just annoying Pokemon, just does so much. His Unite move is great, Confusion is great, good laning phase. Early Power Spike on level 4, second early Power Spike on level 6, and his Unite move is just great. Snorlax is actually quite decent. I think, like, in 5 stacks, he's somewhere up here. I think in general for the game, he's somewhere in A as well. If you look at 5 stacks, I think he's probably up here. Or like at premates, if you look at just overall the game compared with solo queue as well, he's probably a solid high A+, A tier, right? I'm not gonna, these are not ordered, by the way, in order. So don't think that this is just an order as well. It's just A tier. And I think he easily can be A+ tier as well. Very solid defender. Pikachu, I think it's alright. Nothing too crazy. But I think it's totally playable right now. Voltecke is very strong as well in the current meta. It's a very good counter to Sableye as well. If he gets revealed, you can Voltecke him. Very quite annoying. I think Pikachu is just fine. Nothing too crazy either. Clefable. I mean, I think Clefable is not as bad as the win rate show. Like, I really think this Pokemon is actually quite decent. It has good laning phase, a lot of healing. I think the biggest issue is the bad Unite move. Like, the Unite move just kind of is holding Clefable back, I feel like, a tiny bit. I like this Pokemon. I think you notice it if the enemy team has one and you don't. It's a lot of healing. But it's kind of outclassed by Blissey and Eldegoss right now, right? Blissey and Eldegoss are just better. So let's talk about Blissey. I think Blissey is also just such a, like, look at these supports up here. These supports are they're just so strong. I still think Blissey is absolutely amazing of a Pokemon. Maybe A+ is a bit high. Actually, I'm going to put an A tier. A tier just because I think Eldegoss is a tiny bit better than Blissey right now still. But I think A is also, I mean, A is very solid, right? Ninetales right now with Rapid Fire Scarf build, I would also say easily A tier. Yeah, easily A tier. Actually, I feel like there's not going to be a lot of A+ Pokemon looking at the list. But yeah, let's continue. Then we have Wigglytuff, which is alright. Nothing too crazy. I think it's just above average. Or like around average. B+, I mean. I think B+ is average, right? So I think I would put Wigglytuff into average tier. I think Slowbro is decent as well. Easy A to me. Just a good Pokemon. Yeah. Good defender. Good Unite move. Can go Skite, can go Surf. Has a lot of variety. Machamp, even though Machamp is not played too much anymore, I think it's still just a good Pokemon. I think I want to put Mamoswine into A+ tier. I hate playing against Mamoswine. This Pokemon makes me mad. It stuns here so often, has a good laning phase, it even does a lot of damage late game. One-shots characters. The Unite move is also not as bad as people think it is. It's actually quite solid. And this Pokemon is just a pain to deal with. You just stun. Rapid Fire Scarf, also amazing on this Pokemon. Sylveon is just the classic, just good attacker, has been there for ages now with the Hyper Voice build, and I think it just always works. Doesn't matter what. Mysticify is also totally fine. So there's 2 builds, 2 different playstyles, and both of them are totally decent. Greedent is just a Pokemon that I think is absolutely broken. I'm glad that no one plays it too much. Like, Greedent is one of the least popular Pokemon, by being one of the most effective ones. I absolutely hate playing against Greedent, and I despise every Greedent player, if I'm being honest. Decidueye, lane, obviously in C tier. I mean, it could work in B as well, if you get to Spirit Check it, but I just can't recommend it. There's a lot of things that also murder it right now. And yeah, in premates, maybe it can work in lane, right? If you have, you know, if you give it last hits, if you help it out with the support, it works, but can't recommend it. Dragonite, absolutely hate when someone picks this Pokemon in lane, never has any impact, is always Dratini, and it just doesn't do anything. Serena, I think, has fallen off a tiny bit, but I think still only into A tier as well. I don't think besides that it's too drastic. Gotta expand my tier list a bit. I don't think it's too drastic. I think A tier is still totally fair for Serena. But I think it has dropped off for sure a tiny, like a good amount. I think it was up here, and now I would put it in A tier. Trevenant. Now, Trevenant is a funny thing. I don't know what it is, but he's currently one of the lowest win rate Pokemon. And every time I play him, I also just don't feel like I'm having much of an impact myself either. So Trevenant is a weird thing. I'm just putting into B tier. I'm not joking. He literally currently has one of the lowest win rates in the game. I'm not sure why, but there's something wrong when I play this well. I don't feel like I'm having too much impact right now with this Pokemon either. So it's a bit, yeah, feels weird. Aegislash still easily 80 to me. This Pokemon just doesn't disappear from the meta right now. Hoopa, I mean, Hoopa's alright, I think. Nothing too crazy, nothing too bad. I'm just gonna put into here just other support. There's so many supports right now that are just better, right? Duraludon in lane is actually not too bad either, even after the nerfs. Can totally work in lane, just auto-tech a lot. Azumarill, easily A tier as well still. I'm not sure if it's A plus anymore after the nerfs, but I think you can, I mean, it's still good Pokemon. It's still a great Pokemon. Then we have Espeon, which I think actually is quite decent. I really do think Espeon is not too bad, but I'm still can't put it higher than B plus tier. I think it's similar to like, its face feels similar to Surf and Hurricane Cramorant when it comes to the Psyshock build, right? I mean, you can play Stored Power, but it's alright. It's nothing too crazy. Delphox. So Delphox is a weird one. I absolutely hate seeing lane Delphoxes. I just don't like it. So what they do in tournaments is they put Delphox into a lane, let someone else to jungle first, and afterwards Delphox like goes clear jungle. So overall in the game, I think Delphox is a terrible laner. He just needs a lot. I think it also needs blue buff. It needs level 11 as fast as possible for Flame Charge and Mystical Fire build to work. And if it doesn't get level 11, it's difficult. So I can't really rate it much higher. I absolutely, every time I have this Pokemon as my lane partner, I have a miserable time. Straight up. Glaceon, I think it's an okay laner. I think it's very similar to all of these mages right here. Basso, now Basso is an interesting one, because it's still bad. It just doesn't work too well. But I think I'd rather still put a tier than to these Pokemon. So let's put it into B plus here. I think that's fair. But it's just bad. It is bad. It's nothing too crazy. I think Mew is the easily A plus tier. Not S tier anymore, but A plus tier I would easily put it in. Yeah, I think that's totally fair. S is a bit too high. A is, you know, Mew is still the best attacker when it comes to laners. So, straight up. Tyranitar has terrible laning phase, but it's just such an OP Pokemon when it comes to late game. This Pokemon takes over every late game. As soon as you get to high level, it's typically to rate it. I think it's somewhere between A and B+. So maybe in the low end of A or higher B+. It just needs a lot of experience. That's the problem, right? And sometimes, again, if you play lane, and let's say you play solo queue, lane Tyranitar, and suddenly you lane against a Eldegoss and a Pikachu or something, you're going to be useless the entire match. Or Ninetales and Marmoswine. You're not going to do anything. Let's say you play solo queue, the enemies have a duo or triple queue. They gank your lane. It's very hard to come back with this Pokemon. You have to farm a lot. Scyther, I actually like a lot right now. Even in lane. So it's easy to get attack rate stacks, very early game power spikes. I think Scyther is absolutely amazing in lane. And I would recommend playing it for sure. Dodrio, I think Dodrio is totally fine. Still in lane as well. Easily A for me. I'm not sure if I can put it higher than A. Maybe actually. I mean, it's still such a strong Pokemon. Honestly. Yeah, this is put Dodrio in A plus tier, even for laning phase. The laning phase is actually not as bad as people think it is. It's actually quite strong. Scizor is a solid A for me as well. Just a good lane Pokemon. Sableye, S tier. Easily, right? I don't think that's much of a debate. So this Pokemon is just absolutely hideous to play against. Zoroark has dropped down a lot, but I still don't want to put it too low because I think it's just a difficult Pokemon to play. So this Pokemon suffers from, well, it also suffers from getting stunned. If you get stunned one single time, your Night Slash is gone, your Feint Attack might also be gone. It's very, very difficult to play, but I still think it's better than these Pokemon right here. Now we come to Urshifu. And I'm going to put Water Urshifu down here. This is Water. So Surging Strikes or Multi-Strike. And it's terrible. It is terrible. And then this build I'm putting up here because Urshifu is broken. And I can show you a funny thing between these two builds. It's literally the top of the spectrum and the bottom of the spectrum. Because look at this. Dark Urshifu has a 55% win rate this build. And then Water has a 45% rate. It's probably the biggest spectrum in almost win rate builds there is. So that's absolutely insane. So I'm not even joking. Like, it's still bad. It's very fun build. It's a fun build, but it's just bad, sadly. I don't know what else to tell you guys. It's even worse in lane. It's a complete jungle build. If you lane with it, you're gonna have a terrible time. Can't recommend it. Then we have Dragapult for lane, and Dragapult, I don't think it's gonna be a good laner. It didn't seem to have last setting, right? It's similar, again, it's another auto tech carry like Greninja, Cinder Ace, Decidueye. And I don't think in laning phase is gonna be all too great. At least I don't see it, personally, what he's gonna do in lane. And didn't seem like it had decent last hitting either. And again, it's a hyper carry. Hyper carries need experience. These Pokemon right here, they need a lot of experience to deal damage and to just be effective. So, and then you kind of need a team around them as well. If they don't have a team around, it can be difficult. But he does turn invisible, so this Pokemon's gonna be still decent. And we see, I'm obviously gonna try it in lane. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's gonna be better in lane than I thought, with Rapid Fire Scarf and early game damage. But for now, I'm predicting it's somewhere to be here, right? Similar to, again, Cinder Ace and Greninja. I mean, yeah. So that's it for the lane tier list. Let me know what you think about it. Any changes I want to make? I don't think so. I think this looks quite reasonable to me, honestly. Looks quite reasonable. Let me know what you think in the comments as always, and then we head into the jungle tier list. So for the jungle or central tier list, people or Pokemon that are picked in central or jungle area, you know, as it says jungle. Venusaur, A tier, I think is still pretty decent. Gengar, I think Gengar still dropped off a bit. I'm still pretty good at Gengar, but I still notice that he's for sure struggling a bit right now. And it's not as oppressive as it used to be. It can still one-shot squishies easily, but again, a lot of counterplay for Gengar. As I said, similar to the laning phase. To me, Absol is also still higher, but again, for the average player, it's not going to be anything too amazing. A lot of junglers are just better right now than Absol. And yeah, the speedsters are struggling, honestly. Most speedsters are just not good right now. They're, I think, the lowest win rate class in the entire game right now, by far. So they're not doing all too great. Gardevoir is absolutely amazing. Currently, I'm going to easily put into A+ tier. Garchomp much better than jungler than in laning phase, because you get to your power spikes much faster. For me, A tier. Greninja I'm going to put into A+. I think it's still absolutely amazing of a Pokemon. Compared to Cinder Ace, which I'm going to put in A, is because Greninja is better on its own. Cinder Ace really does need a team. They're kind of similar, like they're auto-tech carries, right? But one has a bit more burst. The other one just has a bit more auto-tech damage. But in general, I think I'd rather have a Greninja just because of, you know, him being better on its own. While Cinder Ace, again, requires a team much, much more. Talonflame, just going to join the other speedsters, and their aura is going to be the lures. I mean, I think I prefer these speedsters over their aura. I'm going to be honest, they just do a bit more. So, yeah, I'd rather have these than the aura. Just straight up. Charizard. I think Charizard has dropped a lot. But I think B+ is still totally fine for this Pokemon. But yeah, nothing too crazy. Cramorant, solid A tier. He has a very high, like Dive Air Slash is actually, believe it or not, the third highest win rate attacker build. But I still prefer other Pokemon. Not sure why, I still prefer other Pokemon. I feel like they just can carry a bit much better, but Cramorant is amazing. If you like playing Cramorant, go for it. You're gonna have a great time with this Pokemon, and I can absolutely recommend playing it. Blastoise is a fine jungler, nothing too crazy, but it can jungle for sure. Ninetales is actually much better in jungle than you think it is, but I don't want to put it too high either. Like, they can be a decent jungler, for sure. Machamp, yeah, it's alright in jungle. You don't get attack rate stacks as easily, so it can be a bit difficult. But I just rather have other junglers. Decidueye, it's just difficult to play. Like, Decidueye is a great jungler, but it's just so difficult. If the enemies have like a Sableye or something, you're already quite doomed. It can be super, super difficult. I love Spirit Shackle. Razor Leaf is hard to make work. So I think B+ is still fair. I'd rather just play the other Pokemon. But Spirit Shackle is amazing, and if your team comp works for it, and if the enemies have no counter player for it, Spirit Shackle Decidueye can easily be S tier. If the enemies have no dive, they might not have a healer. Spirit Shackle Decidueye can instantly be. The problem is, like, this Pokemon would be good if there's draft. So if there was draft in this game, I think he would easily be up here. But since it's still blind pick and you don't know what you're playing against, I just can't put it higher than this. For now, at least. But I do think this Pokemon has potential when it comes to drafting, which we hopefully get in the future. Then we have Sylveon, which is a totally fine jungler as well. B+ is going to fill up by quite a lot. Let's put maybe some S tier Pokemon. What I think is S tier in jungle. Delphox. Delphox is to me S tier. Flame Charge, Mystic Fire is one of the best builds right now in the game. Icy Wind, Glaceon, still S tier for me as well. It's absolutely amazing. Scyther, S tier. Absolutely crazy good jungler. Dodrio, S tier. And you can see the S tier is going to fill up a tiny bit. but those Pokemon are just amazing. And then Urshifu. So I think this is my S tier. These 5 Pokemon are what I'm deciding on S tier right now. We have Duraludon as well still, but I do think he's higher A+ tier. He still has an insane win rate, but I think these Pokemon... Actually, no, I'm going to put Dojo into A+ tier now. I'm going to put Dojo into A+ tier. Let me see. Am I happy with this? I think so. Let's continue. I'm going to put these Pokemon out for now, and I'm going to still maybe change something. Trinita, A+ tier. I had him S tier last patch, or last tier list, but yeah, I mean, it's an amazing Pokemon, but does struggle from getting invaded by a little goblin that is very, very annoying currently. Buzzsaw is just Buzzsaw. He's not bad in jungle, like he's a good jungler, but you're just not going to win games with Buzzsaw. That's the problem. This Pokemon just does not win games. Aegislash, I would not recommend playing it in jungle too much anymore, but it still can. Dragonite is also just average right now. I'm actually going to remove the C tier. I don't think we're going to have a C tier. Like, B tier is going to be the lowest. Going to be the lowest rank for this tier list in jungle. For C tier would be Pokemon that you just don't play in jungle, and I'm not going to just rate those. Actually, there's one Pokemon that should have been C tier, but no, I think B tier is also, you know, is fair. Let's just make B tier our last one for the jungle one. And that is Water Urshifu. Again, Dark Urshifu, Water Urshifu. I should maybe put them as last since it's Urshifu tier list, but yeah. There's a huge difference between these two. Then we have Espeon, which is alright, but I'd just rather have any of the other Pokemon jungling, if I'm going to be honest. Then we have... What else do we have? Scizor. I hate Scizor jungling. Every time I see a Scizor jungling, I just don't enjoy it. They just don't have much impact. They have very slow clear. Scizor's like a Pokemon that just wants to be in the face of the enemies all the time. Like, just punch, punch, punch. And if you have to go back to your jungle, you're not doing it. So, Zoroark has also dropped a tiny bit. I'll put him into B+ tier, especially after the full heal nerfs, and in January he also got nerfed when it comes to damage. Sableye also big counter. Quite difficult. Then we have Mew Jungle, which, I mean, Mew Jungle is not too bad, but I wouldn't recommend playing it anymore now. Azumarill, also just better laner than jungler. And Serena. Serena just has dropped off here as well. It's just not... Serena's just not what she used to be anymore, right? So that's just much better jungle Pokemon out there. And then that's it. And then we have, I guess, Dragonite. We have Dragonite. No, not Dragonite. Dragapult. So where would I predict Dragapult to be in? Probably here. I'm gonna predict Dragapult A+ tier for jungle, with potential of being S or A. I would say somewhere between here. I think it's totally fair. And gonna see how it is. He comes out in 2 days. Gonna live stream it, of course, as always. Let me know what you think of this tier list, if it's fair to the Pokemon, and if you think... I always want to know what you think is very wrong with my tier list, or what you like disagree with, you know? Say what you agree with, and then tell me also what you disagree with. I can have like a good, you know, mark of your understanding you guys a bit more as well. It's always interesting to see other people's opinion, and I totally respect it. If you say, Chris, you're dumb, Scizor is much better in jungle than you think it is, then sure, that's your opinion. But maybe don't use the word dumb for it or something, you know? And just saying, I have a 60% win rate with this Pokemon, and here, there's a lot of context missing. There's context missing of what rank you're in, what region you are in, how many games have you played this season, have you pre-made it? So just saying your win rate in a Pokemon is also not a good argument. But besides that, let me know what you think. Hope you guys enjoyed this tier list, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!